r/AskReddit. What is a question you posted on AskReddit you really wanted to know, but wasn't upvoted enough to be answered? I asked people what the most heartwarming thing their teacher said was, but nobody commented. Okay, this is a moment that will always bring tears to my eyes. From my taekwondo instructor years ago. Close street thing I have. So my brother and I joined together before our teen years, and when my brother was 16 he was in a life-altering car accident. From being in a coma to being told he may need both legs amputated to maybe only one leg. The legs will recover, but he probably won't walk again. After just 3 months I returned home and resumed training while he was still in rehab. Anyway, he got sent home early and he wanted to surprise me by coming to class and picking me up. My instructor is in the middle of a pep talk when he notices me looking past him in awe. He turns and looks at the door, does a double take, and just looks back at me all red-faced and with a huge genuine smile, looking like he too was about to cry, and said, "Sorry class, I have just been distracted by something incredible." My brother had walked in on crutches against all our expectations, but it was knowing that my instructor was so emotionally affected by this too that made me cry. What kind of old person do you think you'll be? I'll feel like Clint Eastwood, but actually be way less badass. I was asking about what happened to people that were last online years ago. I remember when I switched from Xbox 360 to PC back in 2009, I left most of my online friends on the platform and forgot to tell them I switched over. I logged back in 2013 and turned out one of my old friends happened to be online and he also was looking for old friends online like I was. After a short talk I heard he also switched over and played some of the games I do. We still play games to this day, with our most recent being Remnant from the Ashes. It's pretty surreal thinking I met this guy over 10 years ago and we are still going strong to this day. Edit added some more lines to flesh out the story. I actually wanted to know what kinds of jobs people originally wanted but couldn't and why they gave up on it. I'm really close to that age where we'd get forced to pick where we wanted to go in life, and I was hoping to get some sort insight from actual working adults so I don't get disappointed. A bit sad, I'll be honest. I went to school to learn how to run all of the equipment inside of a television studio. Cameras, sound equipment, Chiron, which is the overlay graphics system, everything. I wanted to be a technician in studio for a nightly newscast, that sort of thing. I was set to graduate in December 2005 and just before I did they started automating most of that equipment. The number of engineers needed to run a half-hour newscast on your local cable channel went from a dozen or so down to just a handful. Most TV studios were cutting people loose left and right, and I essentially graduated into a dead career field, and I was far too late into my program to switch majors. I've managed well through a combination of hard work and good luck, but that was a terrifying situation to be in at graduation. I wanted to know people's recurring dreams. I'm packing before going to the airport or making my way through the airport. The same things generally happen. I'm late. I can't find/forget something. Some other task gets in the way. I get lost in some impossible maze of escalators and trains within the airport. I never make the flight. I don't think it's even possible to get on the flight. I don't think the flight exists, man. Why do people who are not chefs keep their recipes a secret? Grandma wants to feel important. Let her have her thing. If you could bring one historical figure to the present, who would it be and what would you show him/her? I only got 3 replies, one of which was your mom, my dick. I sort of would like to do something like the Doctor did in the Van Gogh episode of Doctor Who, when he brought Vincent into the future, so into our present, and took him to the Louvre to show him how famous and impactful his paintings had become. OMG, I'm crying, and I haven't even watched that episode in ages. I love how odd Vincent is about all the people who look at his work, and the statement the curator says at the end. To me, Van Gogh is the finest painter of them all. Certainly the most popular painter of all time. The most beloved. His command of color, the most magnificent. He transformed the pain of his tormented life into ecstatic beauty. Pain is easy to portray, but to use your passion and pain to portray the ecstasy and joy and magnificence of our world. No one had ever done it before. Perhaps no one ever will again. to my mind, that strange wild man who roamed the fields of Provence was not only the world's greatest artist, but also one of the greatest men who ever lived. I wanted to know what it's like having a family member who was on reality TV and the aftermath. I still do. A friend of mine from college was on Big Brother. I'm a huge fan of the show, and I was pretty excited for him cause I wanted to ask him all sorts of questions about being inside the BB house. Then he got voted out in the first episode due to circumstances mostly beyond his control. He didn't even get a chance to spend a single night there. Kinda killed my enjoyment of the show. I was really interested in some basic problems in human history that took way too long to be solved. Ended up getting answers such as flying. So you know about scurvy, a nasty disease caused by lack of vitamin C, which often occurred among sailors on long journeys. Well, they figured that out after some centuries and standard practice became to bring fruits and veggies on voyages. After happily doing that for a while, everyone just forgot about scurvy. They collectively just forgot why they kept bringing these expensive fruits and decided now let's not, and began scratching their heads about this newfound nasty disease. Took them more than a century to figure it out again. Silly sailors. I can't verify this, but I've read that before the Brits started issuing lime juice to sailors, they tried sauerkraut, which would have the same effect. But the common sailors hated it and wanted nothing to do with it. Solution? It was announced that sauerkraut was for officers only. Suddenly the sailors threw a fit and demanded their fair share of sauerkraut. What it's like to go through a tornado. Many of these questions sound interesting. It's a shame they didn't go far. Surreal. Seriously. Don't know how else to describe the collective hours-long sensations of being in a car trying to outrun a tornado and seeing two of them behind you. I was a kid. We had just left a restaurant and were on the highway when the sirens went off, and my dad decided that driving away from the funnels was our best bet. Then thinking it was all over and heading back home, amidst still downpouring rain and occasional flashes of lightning that provided irregular illumination of pristine undamaged homes, spaced between stretches of total destruction. Then getting near your house and seeing that, nope, it wasn't over, because you are now watching the roof of your house come up and off and just disappear. Surreal. Not scary. No the force of nature is awe-inspiring vibe. It was just insane chaos that didn't seem real. Bartenders of Reddit, what was the oddest order you've ever received? I bartend myself, and my answer would be soda water with whipped cream. My husband once wasn't feeling well at a restaurant and ordered a ginger ale. The waitress gave him a strange look and brought back a drink that turned out to be some unholy combo of gin and ale. We don't know if she misheard him or didn't know what ginger ale was, but I wonder what that bartender thought. Serious answer. I asked police officers if dealing with dangerous criminals had affected their day-to-day outlook on personal security out of uniform. I was curious if being face to face with criminals had caused them to do anything differently than as civilians. I was curious if they were more likely to be diligent about door locks, or if they gave more thought to the customers when they entered restaurants, stuff like that. For some reason the question just disappeared after I pressed submit. I couldn't find it with any sorting order. I wish someone with more karma/skill than me would post it to AskReddit. My stuff keeps getting eaten by hamsters or something. There are a lot of current and former police officers on my case side of the family. They definitely are super diligent about personal safety. Not in a super intense way, in a very diligent, but still reasonable way. I don't know if that's from the job or their personalities or both. I imagine it's at least partially the job. Two are now retired and don't like being around people anymore. Asked how people coped with grief after a close friend died. A few people answered, but I wish it was more 6 months later and still struggling at times. The answer nobody likes to hear. Time. It's the only thing that helped. I felt like I was in a daze after I lost a close friend. It was 2 or 3 days before I ate anything. I still didn't know what to do with myself. I would sit and stare off into space or lie there and fall asleep. Eventually I got to the point where I was turning on the TV and sitting in front of it, but paying no attention to what was going on. Slowly I started actually watching a little. My family and friends helped too, by either distracting me or talking about it. Now it's been 5 years, and I still miss her, but it's easier than it was. I don't think about her every single day anymore. I felt guilty about it at first, but I realized that I needed a break, otherwise I'll just be miserable. Time was the only thing that could actually heal. What stopped people on the edge of committing suicide? Or who? Going through a rough time right now? No shit. My roommate made pizza. He knocked on my door and said made some zap, come get it. And I did. Thanks for watching. Upvoted Reddit. Try like and subscribe button if it still works.